10 things you didn't know about Macky Sall, President of Senegal. Born December 1961, Macky Sall seems to be one of the few African presidents who was born around independence, as most of them were born 10, 20 and even 30 years before independence. The 59-year-old is the current Senegalese president who has been serving since April 2012, re-elected in February 2019. Sall is not only a man who came to power under regular circumstances, he is a man who created his own path out of a bad situation to head the West African nation after kicking his boss out. Fun fact, Macky Sall is the first Senegalese president born after Senegalese independence from France. But there is more that is not known about the Senegalese statesman. Welcome to another informative video presented to you by The Spore. In this video, we shall bring you 10 things you probably didn't know about Senegal's president, Macky Sall. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and turn notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Number 1. Early life. Sall was one of 5 children born to Amadou Abdoul Sall, who was a state worker and then a caretaker in Kumba Thimbo, a peanut seller. He was raised in Fatick and Futa Toro, as well as Mboro, from the age of 2 to 5. Sall was trained as a geological engineer at the Institute of Earth Sciences, IST, of the University of Dakar, and then at the French Institute of Petroleum, IFP's National College of Petrol and Engines, ENSPM, in Paris. He is a member of multiple national and international associations of geologists and geological engineers. When he met his wife Mariam Faye Sall in 1992, when she was a high school student in the city of Diourbel, Sall was sure he had found his missing ring, and with her, they had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. Number 2. Sall entered politics very young. Macky Sall may be decades younger than his former boss, President Abdoulaye Wade, and many African presidents too, but he has an impeccable political pedigree that qualified him for Senegal's top job when he was ready. Sall joined the political sphere very early in life. His father was a member of the Socialist Party of Senegal, PS, but at the high school in Koualak, Sall associated with the Maoist and later the Marxist-Leninist movement, and Jeff during his studies at the University of Dakar. He soon left Anjef since he did not share the ideas of the movement's use of boycott strategy against the PS in the 1983 election, in which Sall was voted for the liberal Abdoulaye Wade, as he did again in 1988. Sall joined Wade's Senegalese Democratic Party, PDS, in the late 1980s, and became Secretary General of the PDS Regional Convention in Fatick in 1998, as well as served as the PDS National Secretary in charge of mines and industry. He was actively involved in the Sopi campaign, which brought Wade to power in the 2000 Senegalese presidential election. He held several positions under Wade, including Mayor of Fatick twice, Special Advisor for Energy and Mines, Director General of the Petroleum Company of Senegal, Petrosen, Minister of Mines, Energy and Hydraulics, and Minister of State. Number 3. Sall was the longest-serving Prime Minister of Wade's Prime Ministers. On 21st April 2004, Macky Sall was appointed Prime Minister by President Wade, after Wade dismissed his predecessor, Idrissa Seck. On 25th April 2004, Sall became Vice President of the PDS Steering Committee. Although Sall was little known at the time of his appointment, he made a strong impression in his maiden address on general policy. Sall served as the director of Wade's re-election campaign for the February 2007 presidential election, in which Wade was victorious. After Wade was sworn in, Sall submitted his resignation on 10th April and was immediately reappointed, with the government unchanged. Sall remained Prime Minister until 19th June 2007, making him the longest serving of Wade's Prime Ministers. During his tenure, he set in motion several presidential policies which had been neglected by his predecessor, including the Corniche to Dakar motorway and the construction of the Blaise Diagne International Airport. Number 4. He has a mind of his own. In the June 2007 parliamentary election, Sall was elected to the National Assembly as a candidate on the national list of the coalition. But the politician proved he was no ruling party minion when he dared call Wade's son Karim, the president of the National Agency of the Organization of the Islamic Conference, OIC, for a hearing in the National Assembly for mismanagement charges. Critics say Mr. Wade had been grooming his son Karim to succeed him, but Sall accusing him of mismanagement was perceived as an attempt by Sall to weaken Karim's position and possibly influence the eventual presidential succession in favor of himself. Despite temporal peace made by Wade and Sall in early January 2008, Sall nevertheless remained at odds with the PDS leadership. After Sall was dismissed from his position in the National Assembly as president in November 2008, Sall promptly announced that he was resigning from the PDS and creating his own party, the Alliance of the Republic, YACAR, APR, on 1st December 2008. Number 5. He joined with his competitors to win the election. In the 2012 presidential elections, Sall ran as the candidate of the Macky Sall 2012 coalition with the slogan, "The Path of Real Development." He campaigned across the country with the 23rd June M23 opposition movement, which protested against Wade in Dakar, calling for him to be barred from running a third term. Despite initial low percentages in the polls, Sall convinced all the eliminated and disqualified candidates to support him, forming a coalition named Benno Bokk Yakaar, meaning united in the same hope. He achieved this by promising to return a 5-year presidential term from the previous 7-year term that Wade controversially restored. He also said he would ensure that no leader could serve for more than 2 terms. Hence, Sall won with 65.8% of the vote, becoming the 4th president of Senegal. Number 6. His presidency started on controversy. After winning the elections, Sall expected to assume power in peace, but 2 controversies marked Sall's first days in office. His visit to his French counterpart, Nicolas Sarkozy, days before the latter's defeat in the 2012 French presidential elections, and the publication of his net worth, an astonishing $2.4 million, largely acquired during his tenure as Wade's prime minister. Despite the controversies that surrounded his presidency, Sall carried out many symbolic gestures to keep his presidential campaign promises. To reduce state spending, he curtailed some ministerial perks, announced an audit of his predecessor's administration, and cancelled 59 projects and agencies which were judged unnecessary. He ended several contracts within the presidential palace and limited the salaries of the directors of agencies. He re-established the Court for the Repression of Illegal Enrichment, announced the creation of a National Anti-Corruption Office, of NAC, and a National Commission for the Restitution of Property and Recovery of Wrongly Acquired Possessions, as well as annulling some of the final decrees and contracts signed by Wade. To reduce the cost of living, he lowered the price of oil, rice, and sugar. Retirement pensions were revalued, farmers received emergency subsidies, and the 29 permits issued to foreign deep-sea trawlers by the preceding government were annulled. Number 7. He created the Emergent Senegal Economic Plan. In the foreign policy sphere, Sall charged Foreign Minister Alioune Badara Cissé with renewing Senegal's traditional links with Morocco, Mauritania, and the Gambia, and restoring Senegal's diplomatic role in Africa. In February 2013, Sall secured $7.5 billion for his economic development plan, dubbed Emergent Senegal, designed to transform Senegal into an emergent economy by 2035 through investment in agriculture, infrastructure, and tourism. Sall's government also moved toward the establishment of a new universal healthcare system. Since his election in 2012, peace in the Casamance region has been a top priority for Sall. The Movement of Democratic Forces of Casamance, MFDC, have been pursuing the cause of separatism for Casamance, a small region in the south of the country dominated by Christians from the minority Jola ethnic group since the 1970s. Number 8. Sall won an award for being an African Shining Star of Democracy. Besides the numerous campaign promises kept, in January 2016, Sall successfully limited presidential terms to 2 and reduced the term of office from 7 years to 5. The Constitutional Council refused to allow Sall to shorten his own term of office, but allowed the other changes to be put to referendum, to the dismay of some of Sall's former supporters. Protest and violent clashes preceded the referendum, which passed on 20th March 2016 with 63% in favor and turnout slightly in excess of 40%. President Sall shortening the presidential term from 7 to 5 years and reviving the economy through transparent policies, thereby spreading mature democracy to neighboring countries on the African continent, where long-term dictatorship and poverty still abound. Number 9. He is an outsider. Although he was born in the central town of Fatick, where most people speak Wolof or Sere, his parents are Fula people from the north of Senegal, and he says growing up as an outsider has given him his vision. As a result, he was able to find his party and its values. The symbol he chose for his party was a horse, surrounded by stars representing the 14 regions of the country, and one for the Senegalese diaspora. A speech published on his party website states, "These stars are associated with an animal, faithful among the faithful companions of a man, a tireless worker, pet of the peasant, the pastor and the ordinary citizen. The horse stands for strength." Mr. Sall campaigned tirelessly since branching out on his own, including traveling to the US and France, the former colonial power, to seek support for his candidacy from potential investors. This is in stark contrast to Mr. Wade, who during his 12 years in power has sought to lessen Senegal's dependency on France. Number 10. Sall is a student of Wade. One of Sall's biggest campaign and ruling policy is distancing himself from Wade's government and policies as much as possible, but it's quite difficult. While some see Mr. Sall as a new generation political leader, critics say that he is really the creation of Mr. Wade, who even describes Sall as his best student. Senegalese writer and journalist Adama Gaye shares that opinion. As he told the BBC's Focus on Africa program, nobody can dismiss Mr. Sall from what this party has brought, in negative terms, to the social infrastructure of this country, in terms of destroying the democratic fabric and allowing corruption to develop exponentially. I don't see him as being different from Abdoulaye Wade. Really, he is a Wade boy. But Mr. Sall's supporters have been keen to show that the differences between the men do not come down solely to age, pointing to Sall's pragmatism in comparison to Mr. Wade's intellectualism. There you have it, explorers. Those were 10 things you did not know about Macky Sall, the president of Senegal. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe and share with your friends.